Guys, finally, Shoigu acknowledged the truth, and Russians are facing truly catastrophic consequences in Kherson region. Besides that, 100% of Russian logistics is under fire control, and even though this is almost the second year of war, Russians still learned nothing. But more about all this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. So yes, today we have a video of Vladimir Putin visiting one of his events, and he is followed by his bodyguards, and couple of them are carrying 2 briefcases. And as far as I am aware, Putin only needs 1 briefcase with this so-called nuclear launch codes, or commonly known as a nuclear button. My question to you guys is, what do you think the second briefcase is for? Just let me know in the comments what are your best assumptions, and in my personal opinion, it is to collect Putin's shit. And so yes, now let's get serious and talk about the situation in the east, where the Russian Bakhmut logistics is under 100% fire control by Ukrainians, and then we'll go to the south, where Shoigu finally acknowledged the truth, and Russians are facing truly devastating consequences. And first of all, as we always refer to the report by the Institute for the Study of War, Russians continued their offensive along Kupiansk-Svatoe Kreminna front line with no yet confirmed gains, at least according to this map. But we do have a video from the Kupiansk front line where you can see 2 Russian tanks being destroyed by their own mines. Besides that, Ukrainian artillery was able to destroy 3 armored vehicles and 1 tank of Russians located in Yehidne. And then as we go to Kreminna, as you can see right here from this video, Russians laid a lot of mines next to this forest area. And besides Ukrainians, it's getting extremely hard for them to advance. It is also almost impossible for Russians to advance themselves. And obviously this dire situation with mining is not only in the east of Ukraine, it is pretty much along all the major front lines. And as of right now, by Western military experts, it is estimated that at the current pace of demining, Ukraine will take 757 years to completely free its land from existing mines. Next we have a video also allegedly from the eastern front lines, where we can see Ukrainians using drones destroying what seemingly looks like civilian cars. But they were used by Russian soldiers, most likely they were stolen from the local residents, and they were obviously used for military purposes, bringing back and forth small number of soldiers, obviously 5-6 at a time, and sometimes also ammunition and weapons. As we go down to Bakhmut, one of the major complicated areas in the east, Ukrainians reportedly established full fire control over the Russian logistics in this area. Specifically what they are referring to is that the highway which goes from Bakhmut all the way down to Horolivka is within the range for most Ukrainian artillery and long-range missiles, which basically means that Russians who are still inside Bakhmut are in very dangerous position. Reinforcements, yes, they are still coming, but it's getting harder and harder for them to receive supplies, munition and weapons. And besides that, according to the British intelligence report, Ukrainians were able to destroy at least 4 Russian air defense systems located to the east of Bakhmut in Luhansk region, and then we even have video like this from Svetlodarsk, which shows Ukrainians successfully destroying electronic warfare equipment of Russians. But without a doubt, for the last several weeks the most active activities are happening in Avdiivka, so let's talk about this zone right now and why Russians never learn from their mistakes. But first of all, guys, if you do like this style of daily updating and if you can help me out a lot, can you please simply like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can also become my channel member and receive these videos in the early access, hours before they go live. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. And so yes, first of all, let's go to really quick to Vuhledar, where Russians attempted to resume their offensive recently, and Ukrainians shared with us this video. As you can imagine, Russian offensive against Vuhledar was completely unsuccessful, unproductive. They were not able to do pretty much anything except one thing: losing at least 18 armored military vehicles. And in the close proximity to Avdiivka itself, specifically in Pisky, Ukrainians were able to destroy an assault group of Russians along with their armored vehicle. And Russians, they continue to use their glorified drone called Lancet, which basically, according to them, is able to capture targets by itself and then start descending, affecting and destroying these targets extremely effectively. But as you can see from this video, the so-called glorified Russian Lancet drone just missed one of Ukrainian armored vehicles badly. And just when you thought that Russians kinda started to learn their lessons and not throw their unprotected infantry against Avdiivka, well, in fact, they never stopped doing this. It was only changing one thing. It started with infantry with vehicles, with the support with artillery, and now primarily it is just the infantry without anything else. And so in this video was one of the earliest attacks of Russians when they still had the support of their mechanized divisions, and still, as you'll be able to see, was completely unsuccessful and fully repelled by Ukrainians. And as you can see, today I have a lot of footage for you guys, but unfortunately, in order for YouTube not to take down my video or put restrictions on my channel, I have to censor it because it is combat activities related. But if you do want to support my work and see these fully uncensored episodes of the Russian Dude, please go ahead and check my Patreon. The support starts only as little as $4 for the entire month, and there is even 1 week of free access for you to see if you like it or not. Thank you so much, the link is down below. And even the Institute for the Study of War once again confirmed that Russians resumed the artillery attacks against Ukrainian positions around Avdiivka, but this time they do not send that much infantry, though there are still soldiers running across the open fields. And most likely, according to military experts, it is because Russians are probing Ukrainian defenses, and also they're kinda trying to hide the advancement of their infantry, because whenever there's artillery strikes, at least this is what Russians assume, Ukrainians, they hide in trenches and they will not be able to see Russians who run across the open fields. But so far, just like in the past, just like it is right now, and most likely it will be the very same in the future, this is not going to work for the Russian military commandment, because simply the value, unfortunately, of human life, especially if you're a soldier of a Russian Federation, is extremely low. You're just a replaceable resource. And Russians already suffered significant losses during the first stages of the war, during their initial attack last year against Vuhledar, obviously in Bakhmut, and now in Avdiivka, which only allows us to make only one simple, truthful conclusion, is that the Russian military commandment absolutely does not learn from its own mistakes. It just realized that one time in their life something worked, whenever during Second World War they wasted millions of lives protecting against, you know who. I don't think I can even say his name on YouTube without being demonetized. I know this is ridiculous, but it is what it is. And so basically they realized that it worked 70, 80 years ago, so it must work now as well. Why not? What they did not take into consideration is that the military equipment, armored vehicles, tanks, missiles, weapons, everything changed. And that is why this strategy is no longer applicable. And just exactly to show you what I mean, this is how much land Russians were able to capture in the last 3+ days. If you're not able to see the difference, I have to zoom in, and the only advancement happened a little bit to the north of Krasnohorivka. And well, there you have it. Now, as promised, let me give you a brief update from the south before talking about Shoigu finally acknowledging the truth and Russians facing truly catastrophic events. And first of all, once again, there is a video allegedly from the southern front lines, where Ukrainians are able to destroy an extremely expensive radar and electronic warfare equipment of Russians called Podlyot. Besides that, an extremely skillful Ukrainian drone operator was able to launch its drone right through the hatch of Russian self-propelled artillery system called Nona-S, which was moving at the time of the impact. Then there is another video of a Russian small drone unit launching Lancets being destroyed by Ukrainians, also allegedly using HIMARS. And just to make things worse, another Russian fighter jet, Su-25, has been intercepted by Ukrainians along the southern front lines. And speaking about air defenses and fighter jets, according to the commander-in-chief of Ukrainian forces Valery Zaluzhny, the Western F-16 fighter jets are no longer going to be that effective for Ukraine, as if they would have been delivered several months earlier, because Russians already know that these planes are coming, so they started to modify their S-400 air defense systems. Basically means it will be a little bit easier for them to intercept them. So according to Valery Zaluzhny, this is the cost of procrastination. But rest assured, he is not ungrateful. He still mentioned that he is truly thankful for the Western partners for helping Ukraine to repel the Russian aggression. And speaking about Russian air defenses, they are also not unlimited, because whenever there is a spike in combat activities in one zone, Russians usually relocate their air defense systems from one place to another to better protect the new area. And so right here, for example, you can see the before and after satellite images of Russian air defenses, which were previously situated on the territory of Russia in Irkutsk. And now, as you can see this year, there is way fewer of them. But wait, there is more. If you've been watching my videos in the past, you already remember that Russians were actively relocating personnel, infantry, combat military vehicles and equipment from areas such as Kherson region to areas such as Zaporozhye and specifically in the east of Ukraine, because at that time there was not that many activities in Kherson itself. And obviously it left Kherson region extremely vulnerable, which was basically just a matter of time until Ukrainians take this opportunity and launch their counteroffensive against this region. Pretty much exactly what we're seeing right now. And even Minister of Defense of Russia Sergei Shoigu finally acknowledged the truth. He basically said, or I should better say, he confirmed or reiterated the words of Vladimir Putin that yes, Ukrainian counteroffensive on the left side of Kherson region is happening right now, but obviously he could not be as direct and positive towards Ukraine, so he still had to say that all these attempts are completely failing and are completely unsuccessful. And as you might know, there are usually 3 stages for the Russian propaganda how they react to Ukrainian success. Stage number 1 is when they completely ignore it. Stage number 2 is whenever they say that it is happening but Ukrainians are failing. And the stage number 3 is when they say that yes, this is happening right now. And there is only one condition under which Russian propaganda, media and Russian officials will acknowledge and start using the 3rd stage. It is when the situation is getting out of control, when it is getting critical, or I would even say catastrophical. And in this way, they kinda prepare the Russian people and the Russian soldiers for the upcoming bad news and their future justification of the victorious retreat, tactical relocation, or a goodwill gesture. And so let's see if something similar will happen in Kherson region in the near future. I honestly think there will be some liberations, at least mini small ones, by the end of the year, and if you as always do not want to miss them, just please consider subscribing to my channel. It only takes one click. Thank you so much my patrons for your support, and see you tomorrow.